2023. As we had mentioned in the promotional information and the newsletter and emails that went out about this, this is really an opportunity to update everybody on a few key initiatives that we have going that'll take us throughout 2023. And honestly, a couple things that we really want to devote some real time to that we didn't have time to cover at our December member meeting, because we had that agenda pretty full with so many other items. So thank you for joining us. We've got a good group on, and we're going to spend the next, hopefully about the next hour or so, covering these key issues. First, I want to remind everybody to please mute your mics or your lines. That way we don't have any background noise. We will be recording this this webinar so that we can have it available to members that weren't able to make it today. And we have gotten a few requests for that. So with that, let me go ahead and introduce our first group of folks that will be speaking from our friends at Mission Critical Partners, a great iCERT member, to talk about the IWCE project, provide an update really on the IWCE project that we had initially laid out last year, this PSAP of the Future project that we have been asked by IWCE to produce on their show floor at their show in March of 2024. So the conversations have really started ramping up. They really started over the course of late last year, and we've gotten to the point now where we can report out a little bit more progress before we really dive in as an iCERT group, and the companies that had expressed interest in that know who you are, and we'll be reaching back out to you in the near term to get the actual planning process started. But at this point, we wanted to give everybody a quick update as to sort of what the look and feel and all that sort of stuff is going to look like as it relates to this project. So with that, let me stop and introduce Jackie Bynes with Mission Critical Partners and Morgan Sava, also with Mission Critical, who they've been gracious enough to lend us their expertise with helping us kind of manage this project as we really dive into it over the course of the next year and change. So with that, Jackie, the floor is yours, and Morgan as well. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate the opportunity to work with you on this. I think that George has shared this document with all of you, but we understand that the goal of the future PSAP of the Future booth would be to represent how emergency communications is evolving, right? From to take advantage of emerging and advanced technologies. So as you can see, we're looking at really expanding upon this ecosystem, the expanding emergency communications ecosystem, to demonstrate a call, starting with incident with voice and data, flowing through the network, delivering that call to the PSAP, and then first responder agencies and other partners through, and then on to healthcare and the courts. So we envision a booth that would demonstrate how that new technology breaks down silos to encourage collaboration and regionalization, a holistic thinking among PSAPs and its partner agencies, how that new technology will conform to standards, and how the new technology will really make us stronger, more resilient, and better prepared PSAP of the future. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing this screen, and I'm going to turn it over to Morgan to talk a little bit about the vision we have come up with, and really how this, it gets some feedback from you all on what you think about that. So Morgan, if you give me a minute, I'll just pull the, oh, you got it up. Thanks.
Sure. So can everybody see it? I'm only on one screen today, so give me a thumbs down if you can't see it. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
I think we're good. Yep.
All right, great. Thank you. I apologize. So this is just a very early rough draft, and the goal here was to provide space for various levels of participation from vendors that would like to participate in the IWCE show. And it's really, like I said, a very, very rough start. So the vision here would be that that concept that Jackie described before would be carried throughout the booth, perhaps not only with visuals, but also with some type of large video wall that would feature several different types of technologies, services, or whatever each of the participating vendors would like to bring to the table. Additionally, the experience for the visitors would be to kind of take a walk through that path that we spoke about and interact with the technologies on display. Also kind of learn a little bit of the story of how it's delivering those benefits that Jackie already spoke of. And the vision would be that each vendor that participates would have kind of perhaps a video screen or a monitor that they can leverage to demonstrate technology. They would have space that they could leverage to demonstrate technology if needed. And, you know, they would kind of have their own little spot within the booth. We have the goal of hopefully making it a little bit more interactive, as well as, you know, more of a flow than what we are showing here today. But we really first kind of wanted to get this team's input and see if, you know, number one, levels of participation that you may have, requirements that you may have that we're not thinking of, and other things that you may add to the table here. And again, the branding opportunity here will give iCERT an opportunity to push the kind of the collective brand of all of us together, as well as this future vision. And it would enable all of you to also have an opportunity to demonstrate how you can contribute to that future vision with your brand. So with that, I'll pause and see if there's anything I missed from George or Jackie's point of view, and open up for comments.
Thanks, Morgan. I think this looks great. And even though you mentioned that this is sort of the initial rendering, it sort of starts to bring to life the concept. And for folks to, you know, on the call, especially those whose companies or those of you that have expressed interest in participating in this is going to be a, correct me if I'm wrong, Morgan and Jackie, a 20 by 40 space. Is that what we were talking about?
Yes, that's correct.
So 20 by 40 space. It's not going to look exactly like you see here. That we've already started having conversations with the folks at IWCE about perhaps, you know, kind of readjusting the look and feel, but essentially it'll be what you see here and what Morgan had described. So where we are in the process now is we've shared this with IWCE. We had a conversation with the show management late last week. Kind of laid this out for them. We had shown them the previous slide at the end of last year, along with the information that you guys saw there, that gave them the vision and what we are looking to do in meeting the need of the PSAP of the future, which they had asked us to put together. They seem very, very excited about it, and I think are looking forward to it. And now what we're merely doing is going through sort of the details of finalizing what the booth will look like. And then based on that, they're supposed to get back to us on some pricing for you know, what it would take for, you know, some of the logistical aspects of pulling this off. And some of that we've already talked to a lot of our member companies that are interested in this over the course of last year. So once we have some actual numbers, we'll be able to circle back with everybody. But I think along the lines of what Morgan mentioned, we're going to, you know, we really want to get the most out of this, not only for iCERT, but also for each of the member companies that are participating. And so we're going to, you know, with the help of our colleagues at Mission Critical, we're going to develop some sponsorship tiers and sponsorship levels to allow companies that are interested and that participate in this opportunities to also maximize their opportunity and their, you know, experience in participating in this particular project. So let me stop there. And Morgan and Jackie, do you guys have anything else to add?
I think you covered it. The other thing I just want to note in addition is, as you see there, there's only I think 8 to 10 spots, and that's sort of a work in progress. We're also going to hopefully allow room if entities just want to participate, perhaps with visuals instead of having space, as well as perhaps some logo presence. So we're exploring those as well, so that there's a wide range of budget options for all of you based on what your level of interest is in participation.
Thanks for that. So what we plan to do is probably in sometime in the month of February, I'd say we're going to try to shoot for perhaps the first part of February, is have an organizational meeting internally with all of our member companies that had expressed interest, basically, going back out to all of you, making sure you're still interested, and if you are, scheduling that meeting and starting the process of starting to put this together and go, initiate the planning, and Jackie's going to help us lead that, and then begin a regular cadence of planning meetings throughout the course of the year to truly bring this to reality by the end of this year, so that we're ready to go as we go into 2024. The IWC show in 24 will be in late March in Orlando, but certainly by the time we turn the calendar to 2024, we want to feel like this thing is pretty much set and we're ready to go. And then it's just more about the logistics of getting, physically getting everything in place and sent to Orlando in time for the show in March of 24. So stay tuned for more. Hopefully those of you that have, had this on your radar and expressed some interest, like what you see. Again, it's still a little bit of a work in progress, but I think the goal is to really kind of create that PSAP of the future, but also do it in a way that really creates a splash for iCERT and member companies that are involved. So I will stop there and see if there are any questions before we wrap up this part of the program.
Yeah, this is Eric Hagerson.
Yeah.
Just real quick question. So as I'm looking at this visual, it looks really cool. So first of all, thank you, Jackie and Morgan, for all your work on this. This is great. So I'm assuming like each participating company, like each of these, I don't know what to call them, sections or something like that, that would allow them to kind of personally demonstrate their equipment as part of this whole NG 911 call flow and processing process. Is that correct?
Yeah. And now each space may not be as big as what you see here, because I mean, we'll have a 20 by 40, but you'll have depending on sort of, your level of participation, you'll have a dedicated space to do that. Correct.
Okay.
I think the vision then too would be that we would kind of map each of the services, products that you want to feature out on that call path that Jackie spoke about earlier too. So that may be one of the more challenging things is as we identify what it is exactly we want to display. But the goal will be to kind of take someone through that experience and demonstrate how technology plays a role in that experience. So, kind of maybe be thinking about how and where your organization can play a role in that flow.
No, that makes total sense to me. So again, I think right now what I'm seeing looks really good, and you guys have done a really good job, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this all evolves.
Thanks, Eric. Joe Hanna, I see you have your hand up. You had a question? Oh, we need to. I think you're unmuted, Joe, so at least I'm showing you unmuted. Go right ahead. We can't hear you, Joe, so I'm not sure what's going on. All right, while we sort out the technical difficulties with Joe, any other questions or comments? Hey, Joe, if you want.
That's great, George. Looking forward to working out the details of. One of the big questions that we've had from the beginning is how do you manage competitors, like competing products in this? I can see how you just put them on opposite walls. Maybe that's the plan here.
Yeah, and part of that is going to be some of the discussion that we have early on when we get the larger group, the group of interested companies together and start to, pretty quickly start to figure that out. Joe, if you can, are you able to? No, I think we lost
Joe.
Joe.
Put his question in the chat.
Katie? Yeah. Hey, Joe, if you're still on, put your question in the chat and we will definitely get you an answer. Okay. All right. Jackie, Morgan, thank y'all so much. And we will look forward to keeping the membership updated over the course of this year as we start to work through the planning process of the project. So thank y'all again very much. Appreciate it.
Joe's question is whether the individual booths are independent or interactive.
Good question. Are the booths independent or interactive? How would you answer that question, Morgan?
To be completely honest, I don't 100% know yet. I mean, I think that they would be able to stand independently, but again, I think the key here is showing collaboratively how we can accomplish the vision together. So hopefully, you know, there's a little bit of interaction, that experience comes across loud and clear. But, you know, I don't 100% know the answer yet until we sort of map each of the vendors that are participating along the path and figure out what's going to be on display.
That should be a goal. I think, Morgan, you hit it right. That's really the goal of Engine 911 and iCERT, right? Is have an open ecosystem so vendor companies can work together. So that I think that should be the goal, is to make those different. While you might have CAD on one screen and a recorder on another, or dispatch on another, that they are showing some form of integration amongst them to prove out the goal here.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you. Yes.
Thanks, James. Thanks, Morgan. Appreciate that. All right. Thank you all very much. We will move on to the next item on the agenda, and that is an update from Deltek. Jason Hancock with Deltek is here, and Jason is our rep. I think he's probably known to some of you, because I think some of you have actually engaged with Jason directly on working out keywords and other things that relate to the information that we're able to receive from Deltek every day. Real quickly before we tee up Jason, we just, I know a lot of you know about the Deltek offering we have, and it's very, very unique to iCERT in terms of, being a trade association that represents any industry, is to be able to provide something like the Deltek list every single morning, or at least 6 days out of the week, that provides you with the most updated, timely bid information for potential government contracts. And so this is a service that, iCERT provides our membership through membership. It's obviously, frankly, a service that if those of you that have either done it in the past, or if you had to go and purchase this or subscribe to it on your own, it would cost you several $1,000s, probably tens of thousands of dollars, to be able to access a list like we're able to provide for everybody, at least all of our members, almost on a daily basis. So it's a pretty valuable offering and a pretty valuable benefit. And we want to make sure that all of our members are A, aware of it, and B, aware of how they can get the most out of this benefit to help you and your businesses. So with that, let me welcome Jason Hancock with Deltek. And Jason, floor is yours.
Yep. Thanks, George. And thanks everybody for having me. George asked me just to take a couple of minutes today, like he said, to provide an overview of the bid notification benefit for existing members, more of a refresh. But we also wanted to make sure that we introduce this benefit to newer members who might not be as familiar. Got a PowerPoint. Let me put this up real quick. All right, can everybody see this?
Yes.
All right, so essentially the benefit is government bid tender notifications. So we send out daily notifications of new solicitations that are focused specifically on the public sector, public safety industry projects and needs, services, products, anything along those lines. Deltek and iCERT have actually enjoyed a pretty long-standing business partnership going back a number of years. Tenured members might remember some of the presentations that our analysts have given on different calls as far as the state of public safety and government spending. But a couple of years ago, it was actually the beginning of 2020, we started talking to iCERT because iCERT was looking for additional ways to support member business development efforts. So we started the government bid benefit program that we send out to all members today. So essentially, it's an email notification of new bid solicitations that have come out the day before. It's delivered within an Excel file, and I'll jump into one of the files here in a couple minutes and show you just a quick kind of workflow. There's multiple searches covering a lot of different disciplines. The Excel file does have all the information that the agency releases about the project, and I'll point those out a little bit more in detail when we get into the Excel file directly. And this does cover state and local, but also federal solicitations that are coming out. So like I said, there are a number of searches that we have set up over the past 3 years. The iCERT member project search is the one that's probably going to be applicable to 90 to 95% of the members. It basically is a wide swath of public safety projects, services, and needs. We do have another member project search that is specifically focused on those projects that are being funded through E-rate. So if you're interested in projects through E-rate, you can look at those directly. If you're not, you can actually filter those out. We have another search that's focused on security technology. And then we also have some pretty direct searches that are keyword driven, and I'll get into Deltek industry tags versus keywords here in just a second. But some of the keyword searches that we have are the next gen 911 projects, smart city projects. We have a search focused on logging recorders, gunshot detection. So there's two ways that we can filter bid notifications that are coming out, because of course we capture bid notifications for anything and everything that agencies are looking for. Doesn't necessarily mean that all those projects are ones that iCERT members are going to be interested in. So one way that we search is through industry tags. So Deltek has built a search system on the back end of our service that we actually put in different keywords, phrases that agencies will use when they're looking to secure a product or a service. And those are really looking for what the goal of the project is. So we toss out a lot of the boilerplate information that's in project descriptions or titles, or even within the documents. Another way to search is through keywords, and this is really if we want to get very specific with what we're looking for. The only, I guess, caution I would say as far as setting up a keyword search is agencies are going to call the same thing something a little bit different than another agency would. So we just want to make sure that if we do set up a keyword search for something that's very specific, that may not be as apparent in some of the other searches, that we just make sure that we have all the various keywords that agencies would use, so we can highlight those projects outside of some of the other searches that we're currently running. Let me pull up one of the Excel. All right, can everybody see the Excel file?
Yes.
Thanks, George. So kind of the way that I would work through this is an example of one of the files that you guys receive on a daily basis. Some of the things that I would do at the very beginning to help navigate through some of the projects that are in here is, first thing is to go in and freeze the top pane. So if you're scrolling down, you always can reference what that actual column is referencing, whether it be the agency owner, project numbers, etc. Towards the end of the Excel file, you'll see the search group column. If you pull up the data option and just add a filter, now you can look through, and if you're not really interested in logging recorders or gunshot detection, stuff along those lines, you can just select what searches you really want to look at and click OK, and then it'll filter out some of the all the other search results. So you can go back, and the two columns that I would really focus on initially are the project name and then the scope of the project. Because this is going to give you, you can quickly go through the project names to see which projects are going to be more applicable to your company. And then quickly toggle over to the scope to get a more robust description of what they're actually looking for. And this file does contain a lot of other information about the solicitation. You can go through and see some of the primary tags that we're using on these searches. One of the reasons to look at the primary tags is if you start noticing that certain projects are really a closer fit for your business than some of the other ones, you might see a correlation in what tags are being used for those projects. So after you've looked at the file a number of times and started identifying projects that are really relevant, you might be able to use the primary tags as another way to filter down the search results to the ones that are most applicable to you. But we also have project numbers, who their owner is, the owner address. We will provide submittal dates, contact name at the agency as long as the agency provided that, which a lot of times includes a name, number, email address. If you wanted to follow up on specific questions about the solicitation, depending on the description and how they're asking you to interact with the agency directly. There are links to documents that are associated with the project. And of course, we'll capture any documents that the agency releases publicly that we can capture. Some agencies request that you contact them directly to get the documents as a way to keep track of bidders that are interested. In those situations, you would have to go directly to the agency, but we can include any documents that the agency has provided initially. Some of the other information that's contained in the Excel file is the owner URL, where we source the project from. So really, it runs the gamut of the information that the agency is releasing about the solicitation, but it's putting it into a condensed format and sending it out to the members that are signed up for this benefit. So the email that you get each morning encompasses all the information that we captured the previous day. So these are bids and RFP opportunities that are just now hitting the streets. So it's really actionable opportunities that you guys can look through and decide if there's any that are applicable to your business and ones that you want to pursue. And you can use the other information contained in this file to do follow-up with the agency directly on it. So I can open this open to any questions that anybody has. I would say that if you do have specific questions about your business directly on maybe what search is really going to be most applicable to me, or does it make sense to set up a different search that's not already created to cover what I'm looking for? Or even I've had communication with members that they've seen a project that they didn't necessarily see in the file. So they'll follow up with that. So if you have questions about what sources that we're looking at, or if we're tracking a specific agency or not, those are all questions that I can take. If you are not receiving the daily email notifications and you're a current member in good standing, George or Andrew would be your contact to be added to the email distribution list. So with that, I will open it up for any questions that anybody has.
Hi, this is Tom Sands with the Digital Decision. You mentioned previously about tag search versus keyword search. So that list you showed, is that a narrowed down list because of either tags or keywords that you've put in there? Or is this everything you have and we use those tag or keyword searches to hone it down?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, you can use the tags to hone it down, but when we set this up at the beginning, I worked with Kim pretty closely on making sure that we were kind of covering anything and everything that would be public safety related to make sure that we're putting that in that file. Of course, the iCERT member search that's going to probably get the most results each day is going to give some people some noise, but it's kind of one of those, you want to have a little bit of noise in here, because if not, you're probably missing some things. So if you have questions specific to your business and what search would really be applicable, and even we could discuss maybe what tags you want to look out for, feel free to email me directly, and I'm happy to go through that process with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Jason? And I will say that Jason, particularly Jason, but the team at Deltek is always been incredibly responsive to individual member questions when different members have needed assistance or had questions about keywords or wanted to add extra words or whatever to their searches to get more refined results. They are very, very good about taking the time to work with folks individually. So if you do have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to Jason, because they will work with you and help you get what you need. So definitely appreciate that. Well, Jason, thanks so much. We'll ask one more time. Any questions for Jason and Deltek before we wrap this part up? All right. Jason, thanks so much. I know you got a busy day today, but really appreciate you spending some time with us and walking our members through the Deltek offering, and also for being a good resource when folks need it. So appreciate your time. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, George. I appreciate the partnership, and yeah, like George said, if anybody has any individual questions, just email me directly, and I'm happy to work with you to make sure that you're seeing the projects that are really applicable to your business.
Great. Thanks so much. All right. The next item we had on the agenda is really talking about the member survey that we did, and going over some of the highlights of the member survey that we did back in the fall. It was something that we had initially planned to have on the agenda at the member meeting in December, and just ended up not having running out of time for that. Can everybody see that? The slideshow? Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Great. For some reason, I only see part of it, but that's okay. All right. So, there we go. So, a little background on the survey itself. In the fall of 2022, we conducted a membership survey of our full membership, really to provide our leadership, our staff team, as well as our board and executive committee feedback and input on our strategy, and just in general, our membership's thoughts about some of the different efforts and activities of iCERT. So overall, our response rate was 20%, which wasn't great, but it did give us a little bit of a sampling. And thankfully, out of the 20%, as you see the demographics, 75% of those folks, acknowledged that they were, or at least viewed themselves as a designated rep from their company to iCERT. We had 50% of the respondents were newer companies that have been with the association between 1 and 3 years. 40% were companies that had been members for longer than 3 years. And then we had a pretty good divide between small member company representation as well as large members there, as you see, 60-40. In terms of the market segments that were represented among our membership of those respondents, I think it looks like a pretty healthy compilation of the market segments that iCERT represents in terms of its members. You know, you've got GIS, 911 services and equipment, professional services and consulting, emergency management, network and cloud services, wireless, alarm, systems integration. So I think it captures pretty much the universe of membership, which is pretty good. So hopefully it gave us some good feedback and good opinions. So we spent, you know, we had the survey divided into several areas. One of the main areas was focused on iCERT's focus and our strategy overall. And so really some of the highlights there in terms of, you know, asking members, should iCERT's focus include a broad interest of emergency response to the emergency response sector? The vast majority of the respondents strongly or somewhat agreed with that. When we asked, should we expand beyond the emergency response sector? That was a little bit more mixed. 45% of respondents agreed, while 35% disagreed. And then when we boiled it down even further and said, should we only focus on certain aspects of emergency response? A pretty clear majority said no. And so it looks like, you know, our focus is pretty much in the right place and allows for a little bit of growth and a little bit of expansion, which we'll talk about a little bit further on in the results of the survey. So specific feedback on iCERT's functions. You know, of the respondents that the majority responded that it was either important or extremely important that we continue to build business relationships among the members. So one of the, you know, obviously one of the clearest manifestations of that is the one-on-one networking meetings that we provide for at the member meetings, but also the networking opportunities that exist just in getting our membership together. That we build partnerships with other organizations. I think we've got some healthy partnerships, but we're looking at, you know, building more out and strengthening some and expanding out to others. So that good to know that that's important to the membership. That we should work to advance favorable public policy legislation and regulation. I think we've really started to develop and flex that advocacy and regulatory, both legislative and regulatory advocacy muscle over the last year and a half or so. And so that'll be something that we'll continue to work on. That we develop best practices and industry solutions. And I think that's a direct, you know, sort of the manifestation there is the work that our committees do, particularly our policy committees, our public safety and integration working groups. We're really going to work on kind of re-energizing our innovation and technology committee and cloud working group, the cyber working group also. So I think there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of groups of members at work at doing this kind of thing, and it's something that we're going to continue to put a specific emphasis on, and then enabling the exchange of information and just general education among the membership. And so I think the committee structure certainly facilitates that, as do the member meetings during the course of the year. Feedback specifically, as we talk, a nice segue to our meetings and events. When we asked about the importance of member meetings that we currently hold, the vast majority of the respondents indicated either that they were somewhat important, or extremely important. That when we asked about the importance of meetings being coordinated with other major industry meetings or events, that was also somewhat important or extremely important. And I will preface that to say that, you know, we look for opportunities to do that, obviously, but sometimes, you know, timing, location, there's a lot of other logistical concerns that go into that. But when there's opportunities to do that, we'll definitely look to do that, specifically since we understand it's important to the membership. It also, you know, creates, opportunities for twofers where, you know, you're going to one meeting and then you have another meeting right there, co-located with it that, sometimes allows for maximizing your resources. So we totally understand that. And then the importance of informal iCERT networking events that we do and coordinate with other major industry meetings, such as our happy hours. And again, very popular, viewed as important, somewhat important, or extremely important. And so those are opportunities that we're going to continue to leverage and maximize. And they got very, very popular over the course of last year. And so we're already working with making sure that we can maintain our cadence at doing those, but also maintain the ability to do them in a way that folks can enjoy. And so you'll hear more about that over the course of this year. When we talked about, we asked members about the communication to members and the various ways that we use to communicate with our membership. We'll start with videos. How effective are our videos in communicating our most recent efforts and accomplishments? 15% said effective and 75% were neutral. So that tells me that, and 10% probably had no opinion. So what that tells me is that, hopefully we're onto something, and we'll continue to make the videos and partner with our friends at 911 Informed and help us produce the videos and get them out to provide as much timely information as we can. And then a little bit further down, we'll talk about some of the content which folks that responded are interested in seeing. But to me, when 75% of folks say neutral, it means that I see that as they don't have an opinion one way or the other, and they're not telling us not to do it. So hopefully we'll work to make the effective number go up over time by providing more relevant content. And that goes to the next point where we asked which video content is most of interest to you. At the very bottom, 85% is committee and working group updates. This is definitely a good idea generator for us. Obviously, at the member meetings, we spend some time allowing for and providing for the committee chairs to talk about the relevant work of the committees. Excuse me, but also, some of the breakout sessions and specific panels also detail and go a little deeper into some of the work of our committees. But the fact that folks want to see some of our video content include some of that is definitely news to us, but also important news to us that we're gonna work to weave into the videos that we have produced. Other than that, we have webinars like today, and we're going to try to find timely opportunities to provide some webinars and good timely information to the membership over the course of the year. Almost half of the membership wants that. Almost half wants interviews with stakeholder partners, which I think is a great suggestion. And we do some of that in our in-person events, but I think we'll try to package some of that in a way that can be shared more broadly through videos. And then again, almost half of the membership looking for stories or narratives of stakeholders beyond our core focus. And so I think that goes to the expansion piece as we start to develop relationships with newer organizations, or perhaps even international organizations where some of you have relationships and participate, but we as iCERT haven't done that. And we're, as we start to do that could provide opportunities for that. And then a quarter of folks would like to see some testimonials from iCERT leadership and membership representatives. So we'll work on putting that together. Thoughts on our membership, other thoughts on how we could communicate. Three suggestions that jumped out there were some tech demonstrations, doing an iCERT member spotlight, and then promoting our partners, some of which goes to the point that was talked about above that. The other big communication piece that we use aside from direct email is our membership newsletter. So as you all know, two things happened with the newsletter over the course of last year. First, at the very beginning of last year, we collapsed or condensed what were 2 weekly newsletters into one. And then about midway through the year, we did a full-scale revamp of the newsletter in terms of the look and feel. And that's a newsletter that goes out now and probably goes out on about an every 10-day, every 2-week cadence. And so first we asked our, the respondents or the membership, have they read or viewed the new newsletter? A good majority said yes. 35% said no. So we'll work on making sure that stands out a little bit more so we can get that open rate a little higher. And then asking about the frequency, because aside from the look and feel of the previous newsletter and how dense it was, and it was just kind of information overload, the frequency was also something that, informally was always raised and brought up. And so here the graph shows that on the new newsletter, we've got too much has gone down to just this little blue sliver there, let's say about an eighth or so of the membership of the respondents think it's now too much, and then a healthy divide there between just right and no opinion. And so again, on the no opinion on something like this, we'll definitely try to get the just right to be a little bit bigger of a slice of the pie. But on the no opinion, if you're either not reading the newsletter or you are just fine and you don't feel very strongly one way or the other. So I don't view that necessarily as a negative, but certainly we'll do some things to try to make the newsletter stand out a little bit more and have it be something that members look for, enjoy, open, scan through, and get some good value out of. And then the other major component that we use to communicate not only with members but with the outside world and really leveraging iCERT's footprint. As you all know, iCERT is a small organization. It is very resource limited, so we look for every digital advantage or electronic advantage to punch above our weight and be visible. And social media is definitely one way that we use to do that. And so when we asked our members about their usage of social media, this one really jumped out at us because we had felt like really leveraging Twitter and perhaps YouTube were going to be sort of the keys to getting more visible and to cutting through the noise, not only with our own membership but also with the outside world. And these results really kind of spoke volumes to us. First, where we thought we had placed a lot of effort, Twitter and YouTube combined was only 42%, 35% on Twitter and 7% of YouTube. And this is usage by our members. And the one that really jumped out was 100% usage on LinkedIn. And so that really, jumped out at us, the staff, as well as the marketing committee. And so we have already started to put and invest a lot more time in how we promote the association on LinkedIn, how we make sure that we are connected to as many of our members as possible on LinkedIn. Additionally, trying to leverage every tool that LinkedIn has to allow for us to promote iCERT, for iCERT members to communicate and engage with one another. In fact, the marketing committee is already starting a test of trying to create user groups within LinkedIn that can be that we can then apply to the iCERT membership experience. So more to come on that, but that definitely opened our eyes and has got us really focused on trying to basically speak to our members where they're hanging out, and LinkedIn is that place. In terms of again, asking the membership their usage of social media, that weekly frequency is the response that folks who responded gave. 25% check their social media daily, 25% every 2 days, 25% once a week, 15% said every other day, and I think the other 10% either don't want to admit that they're addicted to social media or they're not on social media. So we'll leave that to whatever that might be. But what this is showing us between this and then at the next point about the average time spent on social media accounts, 65% of our members spend less than half an hour, scrolling through social media, and 35% spend, about an hour. Is that time is limited. And so if we're gonna make a point to try to be visible, try to be connected to our members, in this case using LinkedIn, knowing the very limited amount of time that our members spend scrolling on there, we got to make what we put on there really valuable and really stand out and really be something that matters to the membership. So that's also something we're taking into account as we start to develop whatever offerings or whatever information we put up, but then secondly, whatever other offerings we decide to take advantage of within LinkedIn that allows for ways for folks to be connected. And then we talked about some of our external work in other organizations or coalitions that are out there that iCERT should be connected to. And so we asked for feedback on our coalition stakeholder engagement. First on national 911 type organizations like APCO, NENA, NASNA, Overwhelmingly, this was not a surprise. 85% of our membership respondents said this is either ranked this extremely important or important. 15% said not important. Not sure where they were coming from, but we understand that again, being a small organization and resource limited, and the fact that many of these other external groups you all are involved with as well, it's very important for iCERT to be connected to them and try to work as collaboratively as possible. When we asked about government type organizations and other non-government IT related organizations, every respondent indicated that was either on the important scale, either important or somewhat important. And then other emergency response / public safety associations, again, like the public safety organizations, NENA, APCO, IWCE, other organizations. We have this is a suggested list of those that were offered up by folks who responded. So we have the Connected Vehicle Trade Association, NENA, who we're connected to, APCO, same. I'll come back to ENA and TCCA. IWC we're very connected to, as you've already heard earlier today, and then CTIA as well. Been very engaged on legislative issues. As it relates to ENA and TCCA, that is part of our outreach that we're starting to engage in to expand the reach and the knowledge of iCERT to like-minded organizations that operate in other parts of the world. Not only to build a strong relationship and bridge to those organizations, but also to expose iCERT to members, potential members who may participate in those organizations and want a way into the U.S. market and want a way to tap and connect with how things work in the United States. And we want to be that open door to them. And so we've had already started to have some good conversations with Kevin Graham, who's the CEO, Executive Director of TCCA. As a matter of fact, Ken Rabin, who presented at our member meeting in December, is on the board of TCCA and graciously stepped in and pinch hit for Kevin and gave the assembled group there a little bit of a walkthrough about what TCCA is all about and opportunities that might exist for iCERT and TCCA to partner and to work together and to collaborate. And we know that many of our member companies are engaged with TCCA, participate in their annual big conference and some of their other meetings around the world. And same goes for ENA. So we are already looking to make outreach to the leadership of ENA to have a very similar conversation with them as well, along with others. We've, as I mentioned at the member meeting in December, we have started sort of an ad hoc outreach working group, and whose goal is to kind of talk about and discuss opportunities and ways that iCERT can branch out and expand its reach a little bit. And the initial focus has been on trying to do that with some of the other internationally focused organizations that we know that our members already are very active in. So trying to kind of square that circle a little bit. So when we talk about other organizations as well, we asked about participation in other conferences and trade shows of some of our partner organizations or other organizations in our space. 75% of our members present at any one of the various conferences around the country during the year. And that could be, the APCO conference, the NENA conference, IWCE, and a host of others. 55% have exhibits, 45% serve on some of their planning committees, and 7% serve on those organizations' governance structures. So we've got a lot of iCERT participation and engagement with those organizations, which is really good, as iCERT, the organization, has also sought to strengthen those relationships as well. And then suggestions from the membership about who iCERT should seek to work better with to represent the interests of our members. CTIA and IACP were mentioned. CTIA, as I mentioned, we've been actively engaged with on legislative issues. IACP, we've got a good relationship with and are always looking for opportunities to connect. Some of it is through the work of the Public Safety NG911 Coalition, but some of it can obviously be independently with issues that are parochial to IACP and iCERT members. The Safer Buildings Coalition and Smart Cities. Safer Buildings Coalition actually John Foley sat on a panel and presented at the iCERT member meeting in December. So we're looking through some of our member companies. We're looking to build a stronger, a more collaborative relationship and on sort of a stronger ongoing relationship with the Safer Buildings Coalition, and would look to do the same with Smart Cities. Another suggestion was interoperability tech type organizations, hackathon groups, or groups such as FirstNet and OmniAir. So those are good suggestions. And then INCOS, the International Council for Systems Engineering, we've looked a little bit into them since we saw that listed there. And, we can certainly go back to some of our members that have an interest there and see what that looks like, and certainly look to explore that. So that's it for the member survey discussion. Let me ask if there are any questions on the survey or any of the results. Okay, and first of all, very, very pleased and happy with everyone who participated. We had a conversation about the initial results, a little bit more raw form at the member meeting, or actually at the board meeting in advance of the member meeting in December. And the feedback we got was really good. The disappointing thing was that we didn't have more of our members take the opportunity to participate in the survey. And so that's something that, again, we are talking about within the confines of the marketing committee to see how, we need to make the surveying a little bit more regular and find a way to get more participation, so that we have a little bit more true and timely reflection of where members are and what they're looking for out of their membership in iCERT. So I guess we'll make one last call for questions, comments, thoughts on the results of the member survey from last fall before we move on to wrap up. All right. The last thing I wanted to mention is related to advocacy. As you all know, every year NENA hosts the annual 911 Goes to Washington event. This year it's going to be February 26th. Sunday evening with a reception, but really Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So the 26th of February through March the 1st. We are in a very, very key place on the potential of passing NG 911 funding legislation. Came very, very close at the end of last year and being included in the year-end omnibus funding bill. But there's a lot of momentum still going to try to get this done. There's a new deadline. It's March the 9th. That's what was in the funding bill. It kind of pushed everything out on FCC spectrum auction reauthorization and NG 911 funding, among other things, out to March the 9th. And so the timing of the 911 Goes to Washington event is really, really well timed, as luck would have it. And so it's a great opportunity to have so many folks that are part of the 911 space from a lot of different perspectives to be in DC at that time and be on the Hill. I know that they are working, the NENA folks are working to adjust the schedule to allow for more time to be on the Hill, meeting with members of Congress and really pushing the need and the messaging around the need to get NG 911 funding passed. So we're making the big pitch to our members to if you normally participate or attend in 911 Goes to Washington, definitely make plans to attend this year. If you don't, it's something that's interesting to you and you'd like to participate, go to NENA's website, get registered. In the next week or so, we're going to be sending out some information to the full membership, trying to get a sense of how many of our members are planning to attend, because we want to be as helpful as possible and making sure that it's time well spent for you and that you can get up on the Hill, talk to members of Congress that either represent you individually or perhaps where your company has a large employment bases, representing those areas, so that message gets across to as many members of Congress as possible of the need to get NG 911 funding passed. So more to come on that, but I wanted to tee that up for folks and direct you to NENA's website to allow you to start getting registered. And then we will circle back from an iCERT perspective in the next few weeks to kind of get a sense of how many of our members are coming and to try to get as organized as possible and have the biggest impact that we can during that time in late February. So Let me ask, before we wrap up, any last questions, comments, thoughts? Appreciate everybody being on. I think we had a really good group on today. Hopefully, if you weren't able to join us in DC in December, this was valuable information, and we will try to look for other meaningful opportunities over the course of the year to put together good informative webinars for everybody. So thanks for making time, and appreciate everybody joining. And if there are no more questions or no additional thoughts, questions, comments, feel free to send any follow-up questions or ideas you have. Feel free to send them directly to me or to Andrew. We'll be happy to take them after the fact and be able to provide you whatever information you need. So thank you again. We'll give you back, I guess, looks like, oh, we're right at the hour. So we'll wrap it up, and I want to thank everybody for joining and making time. Look forward to seeing everybody soon at one of our events. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.